Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to John Ray's spiritual slash metaphysical meme musings. These are daily inspiration for awakening entrepreneurs and generally badass people on a spiritual quest. Today is November 14th, 2020. If you'd like to see these memes before they go up on YouTube, you can follow me at John Ray on Instagram, and these memes show up in my stories. Let's get started. So this first meme has a guy drawing a chalk box around himself. It's from Advanced Self-Growth, and it says, "The hardest prison to escape is in our own mind." And that is so true because in my own life, I'm trying to get somewhere that I know I should be. And it's this constant struggle between being present with where I'm at and finding the ease and flow in that presence without worrying about what's in the future. But then also having these desires and these things that I want to do and these things that I know I should be doing. I should be working out every single day. I should be making sure that I'm doing my yoga. I should be making sure that I'm not eating as much Chick-fil-A. I should have more conscious diet habits. And for the most part, I have those things dialed in. But I convince myself that, today's not the day. I'll do it tomorrow. Or, oh man, I really had a stressful day. I think I just need to eat that cookie. Or, you know what, my body feels a little tight, so I'm not going to work out. These are all things that are happening in my mind, and my mind is working against me. And one of my coaches told me the other day that I needed to be more unreasonable in my willingness to just do the things that I know I need to do. I need to stop justifying, and I need to stop giving myself easy ways, an easy way out. And so this guy in this self-drawn box is what a lot of us are going through, myself included. And every time I try to up level into a new game, bigger game, all of these fears turn on. And so we have to feel through those fears. And if we can bring all of the noise out of our mind and into our body and sit with that noise in our body, our our body is a much more efficient processor of energy than our mind is. And our mind is just trying to spin off some of that trapped energy. And so, my practice to get beyond my mind is to take all of that death rattle that's happening when my mind is saying, no, not now, not now, that's going to be uncomfortable, you don't want to do that. Isn't it more comfortable for you to just stay in the place that you're at and stagnate? Well, no, it's not. Maybe in the moment it's more comfortable, but long term, it's incredibly uncomfortable to not be moving towards my goals. And so I always do my best to say, where do I feel the discomfort and the uncomfortable feelings in my body? And then I sit with those, allow those to be there, allow it to be okay that I don't want to do something. But as I let that energy burn itself out, almost always I get to a place where I can actually move forward on the thing that I know I should be doing. Are you looking for a like-minded community of conscious entrepreneurs? Well, I've created one. Do you have a business but you're not sure how to make it profitable? Are you looking to learn how to take practical sales and marketing techniques and accelerate your results using metaphysical practices? I know I am. Do you want to create spiritual leverage in your life to achieve time, location, and financial freedom? Then head on over to mindbodysale.com, where we are putting the soul back in selling. You're going to learn how to make money consciously, find meaning, align with purpose, and contribute to your community in a bigger way. Go to mindbodysale.com. And if you feel like you're right on the cusp of breaking out and finding some kind of success, but you just haven't been able to figure out how to bridge where you're at with where you want to be, then that's why I created this community. You're going to get access to a series of videos that I created that will show you the practical daily steps you need to take to start finding consistent success in your business, even if you don't have a product or service yet. We'll show you how to do that. Plus, you're going to get chat access to me and my consulting team, and you can request custom videos to help you figure out your specific scenario and how to start making more money this week. Then we're going to throw gasoline on that fire by incorporating all kinds of metaphysical and spiritual practices to give you leverage and put a multiplier on the actions that you're taking each day. This is the program for finding time, location, and financial freedom and flow with ease while connecting with a great group of like minded entrepreneurs. Visit mindbodysale.com and support this channel. I appreciate it. This next meme says it's from Matt Kahn at MattCon1 on Instagram. The essence of being spiritual is learning how to be consciously human. And that's really what I'm trying to do in my life and with the group of people at mindbodysale.com is we don't just want to make money, we want to do so in a win-win-win manner. You know, there's a big difference between taking a selfish action that's going to get you what you want but is detrimental to everyone around you. And so this idea of being consciously human is okay, I want to do something that's good for me, and then it needs to also be good for my family, and then it needs to also be good for my friend circle, and then it needs to also be good for my community and my state and my country and the world at large. And so being conscious is playing this kind of 5D chess with every action that we say and making sure that we understand how our actions ripple out into the world. And that can be really difficult at first, but as we awaken to our own benevolent spirit, this is the most highly leveraged way to get everything that we want and make sure that we change the world in a better way and leave it better when we leave than when we came. And that's the goal of being consciously human, to align with this idea of love and ride the wave of that into bigger and bigger experiences. Next up from at Subconscious Thinkers, it says, it's your life. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for living it your way. And boy, whew, do I struggle with this one because I am historically a people pleaser. And as a people pleaser, I have always just walked that center line. I never wanted to rock the boat because as a business consultant who's been very successful in my practice over the last 15 years, I attributed all of that business success um, to being able to have anybody write me a check because I was never saying anything controversial or really expressing my truth in any kind of meaningful way. I I wasn't bumping up against anybody's triggers or rocking the boat in any way, and so I thought that that was the right way to grow my business. But what happened is that I would attract all of these clients that were just not a vibrational match to me. They were a vibrational match to the results that I could get them in their business. They all wanted to make money, and I'm good at helping people make money, but they were not aligned with who I was as a spiritual being. And what we have to do is recognize that there are always going to be people who are rubbed the wrong way by us being in our truth, and that's okay. We can't let those people shut down our truth and shut down our expression. We have to continue to be authentic in our expression. And what that does is the people who don't resonate with us are going to fall away. But the people who are ready to work with who we really are authentically are going to start showing up in our life. And so for a season, it can feel uncomfortable as some of those people that aren't the right fit for you start to fall away. But then the beautiful thing is that the spring comes and all of a sudden these new relationships start to form around you, and they're so much more satisfying and your conversations become so much more meaningful. And so don't let anyone make you feel guilty for living life the way that you want to do it. You've got to be in alignment with your truth, and you know what you should be doing. You know the actions that you should be taking, but there's a little bit of fear that shows up in your chest or in your solar plexus. This is how it happens for me, at least. And so I sit with that fear, I let it burn itself out and dissipate, and then I step forward and I act in truth. Next up from at with wisdom, love, truth. It's a card with a dragonfly on it. It says, "I always trust the direction of the universe and know I'm being guided." And I definitely, through Abraham Hicks' work and through a lot of the spiritual practices that I've practiced over the last 15 to 20 years, I have developed a keen faith in the universe or God or reality as a whole, that everything is pointing in my favor. And the way that I see life is that reality is this mirror, and the mirror is using the law of attraction to constantly show me the trapped energy in my nervous system that is preventing me from being wholly the frequency of love. And so the universe is always guiding me towards releasing that trapped energy in a way that will allow me to align more with love. And when I'm aligned with love, if you've ever been in love, you know what that's like. All of a sudden, you're winning all the radio contests. You're winning all the raffles. You're getting the best table at the restaurant. You're getting the upgrade to first class. Like when you're in love, things are in flow and momentum, and you don't have to be in love with another person. You can be in love with life, in love with yourself, and that vibration of love will start to attract this incredible ease, but if there's stuff in your nervous system that you've bypassed from the past, those fears and those concerns are going to come to the surface, because when you're in a high vibe place, your body says, quick, they've got enough energy to process this. Let's transmute all this trapped energy that they bypassed in past experiences. Let's transmute it back into creative potential. So the universe isn't always going to give you what you want, but it is going to give you what you need. And I trust that I'm being guided by the universe in that way. The universe is going to give me life experiences that trigger the fuck out of me. And that triggering energy is energy that I need to sit with and allow to process. Because what that trigger is saying is, oh, good, here's some trapped energy that can now release, transmute back to creative potential. And now I can direct that creative potential towards my desires, towards the things that I want in my life. Next up from at kill the ego. If you don't like something, just take away its only power, your attention. Whoa, that's powerful, because your attention is everything. Where your attention goes, power flows. And all we have to do is shift attention from the things that aren't serving us, or that are negatively processing us, or are taking us down a negative rabbit hole. And so recognize that your power is in the present moment. And the reason that is because in the present moment, you have control over one thing: where your attention goes. And you have to learn how to vibe out what is right for you. Are you filling your mind with political nonsense and negative processing from the news, or are you reading self-help books? Are you joining courses? Are you working with like-minded people? Are you surrounding yourself with people who are doing the things that you want to be doing? Where your attention goes, your power flows. And so make sure that you recognize that your greatest magic wand is your attention. Next up, from Cryon, at Cryon Lee Carroll. You have so much to unlearn. That's a quote from Cryon. And boy, we have been negatively processed and programmed as a society. And the work to be done right now is to unlearn everything that we think we know about reality, and get into this place where we are open-minded enough to actually seek out the truth. It is so easy in this day and age, with all of the political and you know just chaotic messages that we're receiving, to want to think that someone else has our truth, and that we have to buy into some narrative that everybody else is agreeing to. And of course, there is an advantage to collective agreement. It's why when you read books like the Isaiah effect, there's a group meditation effect where the more people who have their attention focused on something, the more that reality begins to manifest in the direction of that focus. But my belief is that there are people and organizations who understand how powerful it is to get people in collective agreement around an idea, and sometimes this can be used to divide and control us. And I believe that much of the programming from the mainstream media and the messaging that we get from society as a whole is basically trying to program our nervous system and our mind and the neural networks of our mind to be in a state where we're acting as a cog in the machine, and instead of stepping into our own creative sovereignty. And in order to step into that creative sovereignty, we have to unlearn all of the labels that have been projected onto us and projected onto the world around us, and become newly curious in how the world works and seek out truth more than our own biases. We have to say, one of my prayers every single day is, God, it would be okay if I'm wrong about everything, but give me the clarity to see your truth. And that has been a really powerful way for me to operate. Next up, from at Love Abraham Hicks, Abraham says, the world doesn't have to conform in order for you to still feel good. And that is so true. This goes back to where your attention goes, energy flows. You get to decide to feel good. And it doesn't mean that you have to always feel good. It's okay to feel bad, but there's so much power in being comfortable with your own discomfort. You are not your negative emotions. Your negative emotions are just energy flowing through your system. And what they are signaling is that there is some gunk in the pipes of your energy system. And if you will set a timer for 10, 15, 20, 60 minutes, however long it takes for you to let some of that negative energy burn itself out, instead of identifying that energy as you, just see it as energy that is trying to move through your pipes. And that negative feeling is the energy getting stuck. It hit a blockage in your system and it's trying to push its way through, kind of like when you pour Drano down the pipes of a sink and it has to slowly work its way through and dissolve the gunk, and then those pipes can flow again. Well, negative emotions are showing us where in our body there is gunk in the pipes. And so if you will sit with that negative emotion and give attention to the gunk in the pipes, recognizing that the negative emotion is not you, it's just energy trying to transmute itself back into creative potential. And as you sit and just lend curiosity without any judgment to that negative emotion, and not even labeling it negative anymore, but just seeing it as energy, that energy will start to burn itself out, dissipate, and when it no longer feels present, reality won't have to keep giving you life experiences to trigger the release of that energy. Next up, from at Rob Dial Jr., he says, nowadays rich people wear ripped jeans and Converse while poor people wear Louis Vuitton and Gucci. Ooh, that's a James Franco quote. That is something that I've had to learn over the years. I used to always buy the nicest clothes. When I had no money, I'd save all my money up for a really expensive pair of shoes or pants, because my ego said you have to go out there and you have to pretend like you're rich when you're not. And when you look at the richest people in the world, they're wearing jeans and a t-shirt. And so the focus should be, how do you want to contribute to your community? What kind of legacy do you want to build for yourself? And how can you take the money that you have now and invest in yourself so that you can become more highly leveraged? If you're spending all your ancillary income on clothing and things that aren't going to put a multiplier on your money, then you're wasting your money, and you're not going to get a dividend on it in the future. And so instead of buying all these expensive clothes, I learned how to find cool clothes at thrift shops. And I took the money that I was saving and I started to invest it into courses and into advertising for my business and into coaches. And that allowed me to start accelerating and playing bigger games and winning more and more often. You've got to invest in yourself and invest in your knowledge and invest in your ability to emotionally process yourself and work through your triggers, because when you do that, you will become so powerful that the Gucci's and Louis Vuittons of the world just give you clothing. That's the hilarious thing about rich people is that if you truly have influence, you're not paying for clothes. They're being given to you. The most expensive things are being given to you because those companies want their products seen with you. And that's a more satisfying way to be walking around in Louis Vuitton and Gucci, if that's your style. Next up from at Success Owner, it says, when God gives you a new beginning, don't repeat the old mistakes. And that's really it. It is totally okay to make mistakes. You're going to do it. If you're playing a big enough game, you're going to fail at it. And that failure is important because it starts to give you the muscle memory of what it feels like to succeed in the new game. But don't make the same mistakes twice. You will accelerate so quickly if you can fail fast, learn from those failures, and then never make those mistakes again. Now, of course, sometimes you're going to make the same mistake twice, but part of being consciously human is that you want to learn as quickly as you can from your mistakes and then never make them again. And that's how you up level. Next up, from at Lee Harris Energy, it says, if you feel like you're lacking manifestation and flow, check how much you are focusing on stillness and quiet. I fail at this a lot, but it's one of the things that I've really made an intentional effort to say, I've got to sit with myself for at least 15 minutes every single day. And the way that this helps me is that in the mornings, I'll set a timer for 15 or 30 minutes and I will just do a body scan and sit with myself and see what energy wants to move in my body, what fear or anxieties are kind of right on the surface there. And I will sit through that and I will write down the things that feel like a priority or the things that need my attention in that day. And so just by checking in with my nervous system and my body, being really still and quiet with that, one, I can feel through and breathe through some of the nervousness that I might have about my day, but also my body and my innate intelligence is so good at figuring out what is the right priority of actions that I need to take. And so now my to-do list comes intuitively every single day just by tuning into that stillness within and allowing my intuition to show me the most highly leveraged order that I can be doing things and the actions that are going to be most highly leveraged and get me the most bang for my buck, so to speak. Next up from at You Are Another Me. If you took all your DNA, straightened it out, and put it end to end, it would stretch to Jupiter and back 10 times over. You're neither small nor insignificant. You're just very well folded. And that's just an interesting thing to think about. You know, we think that sometimes that we're this small, vulnerable body, but if you took all of our DNA and spread it out, we are cosmic beings and we are big and we are powerful and we can hold so much space. And an interesting practice is to expand your energy to as big as you are. Notice your energy, sit with your body, recognize the energy flowing through your body. And then what I like to do is put a dome over the place that you live. And so now recognize your energy in that dome, and then put a dome over the city that you live in and recognize your energy expanding to the size of your city, and then put a dome over the state that you live in and recognize your energy flowing out to the state. then your country, then the entire globe. Put a sphere around the globe and recognize your energy expanding to the size of the globe, and then bring that sphere out to the moon, and then to Mars, and then to all the planets, and then to the galaxy, and then to the whole universe, and feel your energy expand and holding this space. And what happens is that as your energy expands in that way, you become this massive satellite dish for thoughts and ideas and intuitions that are going to help you. And that can be a really interesting experience of expanding your power and recognizing that you have control over how big your satellite dish is. And look at this DNA. This DNA is a radio receiver. It is receiving information. You are a satellite dish, and if you expand your energy out, you're going to get a better signal. Next up, from Power of Spirituality. How do you sleep at night? This is from Jack Dayton. How do you sleep at night knowing that there are some people in the world who don't like you? And then Jim Carrey responds, how do I respond? With no underwear in case they want to kiss my ass. I am in the process of stepping into my creative sovereignty. And what that means is that I've got to do me regardless of what anybody else says. You know, one of the interesting people that I really love to listen to, love him or hate him, is Kanye West, because Kanye West is a true visionary, and he admittedly knows better than anyone how to swim through backlash. And whether you like his ideas or not, he is authentically expressing who he is, and that is manifesting as influence and power and money and an ability to create a positive impact on the world. And you better believe he's going to do it, and so am I. But that requires that we can't try to please everyone around us. So sometimes maybe we don't say it out loud, but sometimes we just have to say, you know what, I'm sleeping naked in case my haters want to kiss my ass. Next up, from at You Are Another Me. It's a meme with a guy with the window just rolled down a crack. He's kind of creeping and peeping, and it says, how people look at your page when they're waiting to disagree with something you post. And unfortunately, we live in this world where it's really easy to lash out at somebody and online, and most of the time these people would never confront someone in purpose like this, but because they're hiding behind an avatar, or because they don't have to get the immediate feedback from a person or see how much their comments are hurting somebody. They're just negative Nancy's in the comment space, and whatever you do, there's always going to be someone who's going to hate on that, because maybe you make them feel uncomfortable. Maybe they wish they were doing what you were doing. Um, you just got to shake them haters off, and it's just so funny that some people's modus operandi is to wait for you to post your truth so that they can lash out at it. And the more that you just feel through those feelings, when someone says something to you online or in person that triggers you, that's a beautiful gift, because you can sit with the energy of that, allow it to, again, put that Drano through the nervous system pipes, clear out the energy that no longer serves you, and transmute it back into creative potential. So your haters, if you're able to properly sit through what they trigger in you, are actually making you more powerful. Next up, from at the Spirit Messages, says the benefits of astral travel. It has a guy coming out of his body. It says it strengthens your faith, it broadens your consciousness, it empowers your magical powers and intuition. You get to meet angels, fairies, and elves. You get to travel to the past and future. You get to discover Atlantis. It freaking rocks. Have you astral traveled before? Astral travel is something that I'm still experimenting with, but I can definitely explore my imagination, and astral travel is, I think, this kind of bridge between what we see as the real world, and maybe this more etheric dimensional space where everything exists. And so what I like to do, or the way that I'm experimenting with astral travel now, and I'd love to hear from some of you who have had deeper experiences with this or have some practices for astral travel. But what I like to do is just go into my imagination and take the roller coaster of that, go on the ride, allow my imagination to spiral into bigger and better fantasies and ideas. And some of my best ideas go from allowing myself to basically leave body and kind of go on this imaginary journey. And as I develop that further, I expect that, there is going to be more conscious control of dimensionally hopping and collecting information from these other realms and bringing it back here and enacting it into reality. Next up, from The Alchemist, we have a quote from Tom Montauk. It says, "Realms are somewhat like movie scripts, each person being the star of his script, but all scripts including others as major, minor, or background characters. The greater the congruence between two realms, the more important the role played by each character in the other's script. The importance of a character is not determined by how frequently we interact with them, but how meaningfully we do so. We may cross paths with a background character every day, perhaps a neighbor or coworker, and they leave no more than a fading impression on our souls. Others we may meet only once in life during an experience so meaningful that it marks us for life." And that's just a good reminder that everybody's kind of operating in their own movie script or their own personal universe, but those universes overlay, and the law of attraction is going to bring the people and information that we need in our life to feel through our triggers, become more holy love, and enact our desires in reality. And if we're living consciously, those desires are win-win-win desires, where our desires, when achieved, also benefit our family, our community, our world as a whole. And so what I love to think about is that information, the exact clarity that I need, the exact feeling or meaning that I need could come to me from somebody standing behind me in a grocery store. I expect miracles to come from me from every freaking direction, and it does not matter the messenger, because I know that God can utilize anyone to give me what I need and the message that God has for me. And I just love knowing that every day is going to be this beautiful surprise and unfolding of my greatest potential stepping into manifestation. Next up, from The Alchemist, we've got this awesome picture of this woman kind of blissing out into the galaxy, and it says, "Oh, this is the same quote." I just had it a little bit bigger so I could read it. So enjoy that visual to go along with that movie script, because really, this girl is definitely chilling out in her own personal universe, but connecting with everything. Next up, from at Stay Positive in Life: "When prayer becomes your habit, miracles become your lifestyle." We have a little girl praying on her bed. And, this is key. I really do believe that God is a separate entity who created us and who is gifting us with this experience, and that the opportunity that we're being gifted with is to become more wholly aligned with the frequency of love, and that God's gift to us is the mirror of reality, and reality is constantly triggering the emotional baggage that has gotten trapped in our nervous system, sometimes because of our own choices, but sometimes because we have innocently absorbed the negative programming from society and our parents and our teachers, and they oftentimes were just unconsciously unaware that they were negatively processing us and programming us. But when we pray to be aligned with God's truth and with God's love, you better believe that life starts to align with that. And we can just go into prayer and say, God, show me what you need me to be. Show me how to be a clear vessel and channel for love and truth today. And life, whatever comes next after that prayer, buckle up, because that is showing you what you need to feel through to step into your highest potential. Prayer is powerful. And it is something that you've got to incorporate into your day to day, your moment to moment, if you want to live your biggest potential. Next up is from at the Free Thought Project. It's the scene with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. Tom Cruise is saying, "I want the truth," and then the meme says, where Jack Nicholson would normally say, "You can't handle the truth." In this meme, he says, "No one actually cares about the truth. They want you to confirm their bias. The truth is they've already made up their mind, and no amount of evidence will ever make them change their beliefs." We have got to learn how to get out of our own cognitive dissonance and our own cognitive bias. And in a funny way, this showcases that most people aren't actually seeking the truth. They're seeking evidence to show them, and I'm putting evidence in air quotes, they're seeking evidence to show them that what they already believe is the truth. And this is difficult for me too, because I always want to believe that my truth is the truth, and I have really tried to expand and continue to expand and am expanding my intention, and my ability to show up as being open-minded. All the time I pray to God, look, if I'm wrong about something, show me that I'm wrong about it. I don't care that I'm wrong. I have felt through the feelings about it being uncomfortable if I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but let me be wrong for the most minimal amount of time so that I can move more wholly towards truth and love. And so when it comes to anything in my life, if I'm looking at politics, it doesn't matter to me if Joe Biden or Donald Trump is the president. What I want is God's truth to play itself out, and I want to know the truth of the matter. And so I say, look, if Joe Biden is the president and the most beneficial for the people, let that truth bear itself out. If Donald Trump is the most beneficial for the people, let that truth bear itself out. If the system needs to crumble and we need to move to a completely new style of politics, let that truth bear itself out. And so I battle somewhat between, okay, well, I want to have strong convictions so that I can move my life forward, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm being someone who is balanced and who is recognizing that from my limited vantage point, I may not have the whole truth, but God does have the truth. And so I just pray that God enact his truth and his love through me in my day to day. Next up from at the higher self, it says, strange, isn't it? You know yourself better than anyone else, yet you crumble at the words of someone who hasn't even lived a second of your life. The world is filled with people who think they know you. Listen to no one else's voice but your own. And that's a tweet by, looks like, Cheery Legs. This is true. I mean, there are so many people who know nothing about you that want to project their worldviews onto you and their ideas of what things should be and their limitations, and they don't know anything about you. This happens in the spiritual community a lot, where people will project onto you that you have to always feel good. That's not the case. You have to be you. You have to be honest with where you're at. You can't feel joy if you're currently feeling grief. It is okay to feel grief, but you are not your grief. Grief is an energy moving through you. It is something that's being stuck in the clogged pipes of your nervous system. And so if you will allow that energy to sit in your space and not judge that energy as you or as something bad, but just recognize that that's the Drano in the pipes, and watch that Drano work itself through your system, you will step into greater power, and someone projecting their own shit onto you will not bother you as much. But if it does bother you, that's the feeling to feel. Sit with that. That person is giving you a gift because it's showing you one of your edges, showing you where your pipes can grow a little bit. And by sitting with that feeling until it's no longer present, you become more creatively powerful. Next up from at the enlightened core, being in your own energy and unaffected by others' energy is a superpower. And that happens by feeling through your triggers. The more that you feel through your triggers, the more that those same type of things don't trigger you anymore. You should be able to walk into a room of people who despise you and be solidly in your power. Because if you're going to be a leader in this world, if you're going to buck against the status quo, if you're going to be a change maker, you better be able to stand strong in your own power. And you do that, you start operating that way right now by taking anything, any life event that is being gifted to you. You say, where do I feel this in my body? And you start to feel your edges out so that your energy can grow. Next up from Dion Page, I'm going to level up so hard it hurts people's feelings. And that, boy, is that the truth. Because when you're powerful, when you're in your truth, it's going to make people uncomfortable. Because when you're that strong in your light, it's going to show people where they're not showing up as big as they could. When everybody's used to living in a dark room together and there's no light in there, everybody's like, hey, this dark room's kind of great. As soon as you flip your light on and all the cockroaches start moving around and everybody can see how fucking dirty the room is, they're going to be mad at you for turning the light on. And the good thing is that with the light on, you know what needs to be cleaned up. And so people are going to be uncomfortable with your truth and your light until they're not. Once they recognize and see, oh, the trajectory of his life shot off like a freaking rocket once he started to awaken, maybe I can have that too. Your light will start to resonate with them, but it doesn't happen right away. At first, it's going to create a trigger in them that they have to feel through. And if you will allow them to have their feelings without projecting onto them that their feelings are wrong, they will be able, in that space you're holding, they will be able to have a transformational experience without you ever projecting onto them that they have to have a transformational experience, because they don't. It would be perfectly fine if they just close their eyes and pretend they're still in the dark room, but your light is growing. And as your light grows, people are going to want to learn how to live in the light instead of being so tied to an old paradigm of dark roomedness. Next up from at Spiritual Hill, it's a guy wearing sunglasses, then he takes them off. It says, as much as I use my smartphone, I don't think I've ever seen it in any of my dreams. This guy takes his glasses off, and that just blew his mind. It says, wait a second. And I posted that because that's weird. I don't think I've ever had a dream about my phone, and yet I'm on my phone all the time. Are we not allowed to take technology into those spaces? Is it just that we're so tuned into our own telepathic abilities up there that we're not using cell phones in our dreams? Comment if you've ever had a dream about your cell phone or your smartphone, because I haven't, and I thought this was funny. Next up, from Success Owner, it says, being who God called you to be is the biggest flex of all time. You better believe that God's got a big ass plan for you. And if you will allow the gift from God, which is the mirror of reality, triggering the fuck out of your nervous system and showing you what energy needs to be cleared, balanced, and transmuted back into creative potential so that you can ride the wave of love, you better believe that God is ready to put you in the battlefield against Goliath. He's showing you which stones you need to smooth so that you can slay the demons around you and make the world a better place. Then next up is at Astral Dimension. No matter what society says, it's okay to be like, nah, that ain't for me, because you're constantly going to be bombarded with messages and ideology that doesn't serve you. Just because everybody else around you believes something doesn't mean that you have to believe it. You've got your own personal universe. You've got your own connection to God. Let God show you the truth that you need to live in so that you can more powerfully create a benevolent world. almost everybody in this world is operating from some level of fear or vengeance or disconnection from source. And so you can't take the suggestions from the mob. Mob dictatorship is unfortunately what society around us is sometimes moving into, and that does not have to be the case. We can continue to stand strong in our personal sovereignty, in our creative sovereignty, in our connection to source. And that connection to source is more powerful than a million people who are disconnected from source, to quote Abraham Hicks. So no matter what society says, it's okay to be like, nah, that ain't for me, and then just go about being you. Next up, from At Law of Void, says, don't let others define who you are. Discover your own identity and let your presence reveal your true self. Until the ego evolves to become one with our true self, we remain slaves of our own egos. And that's true. For me, again, it comes back to I've been a people pleaser my whole life. That is an egotistical thing to be. To not be true to yourself and to say, oh, I want other people to like me so much that I'm going to play a small game. That's bananas. That's how you get depressed. That's how you live in stagnation. That's how you become an angry person, who's constantly pointing the fingers at others, because you end up resenting everyone in your life, because by pleasing them, you are shutting down the creative being that you are. You can't let other people define you. That's the most egotistical thing that you can do. And God, am I guilty of doing this? But more and more, I'm learning to step out of my box and make things happen. And I apologize for the lawnmower or weed eater that's happening behind me. Hopefully that's not too loud. But I ain't going to let it stop me. Nobody's going to define who I am. Next up, from At Law of Light, it says, God does not say, first be good, then you can experience me. God says, experience me within yourself, and your life will be an expression of all that is good. And that's a quote from Dean Jackson. And boy, is that true. I think my entire life, until very recently, I thought that I had to first be a good person. And so I was constantly worried about, am I being a good person? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And because of that, I was constantly in a place of anxiety about whether or not I was, in a strong enough place of moral truth for God to work through me. God works through everybody. You better believe that there is a Babylonian king thing happening in society right now, where God doesn't care if you're morally aligned. If you're available to have a plan enacted through you, God will use you. And so don't think that you can't be a part of God's plan because you haven't cleaned up all your emotional baggage, or because you're just on the beginning of your spiritual awakening. God can use you right now. And if you will open up to that plan, you better believe that you're going to become one of the strongest warriors in God's army, and that there will be legions of angels around you that you can command in making the world a better place. Next up, from At Spiritual Heals, it's a street sign that says, gut feelings are guardian angels. And that's true. Someone was telling me the other day about a book. I think it was called Nice Guy Phenomenon or something. And if I understand the premise of the book, it's this idea that in our people pleasing, we're denying our own truth, and there is this constant gut feeling that we should just say what's on our mind. But because some of us are so controversy adverse, or conflict adverse, because it seems so uncomfortable to confront someone with our truth, we end up playing small and not saying what's on our heart. And because of that, we start to shrivel in our energy. And so those gut feelings, those things where you know what you need to do, but you're afraid to do it, that's a guardian angel saying, take the leap. Step out on the Indiana Jones bridge of invisibility and trust that it's going to be there, support your way, and get you to the other side. Next up, from at Dexter Gelfin, one of my coaches, when you feel disturbed, try just letting the swirling energies dance and dissipate. And this is my entire spiritual practice. When you get triggered in your nervous system, allow that to play itself out. Don't try to avoid uncomfortable feelings. Get so comfortable with discomfort that you don't associate any type of meaning to the energy other than it's just energy burning itself out. Don't identify that, don't identify negative emotions as you. They're not you. They are Drano in the pipes that is clearing out what needs to be cleared out. Whatever you're feeling right now is completely appropriate. If you will set a timer for 15, 20, 30, 60 minutes and say, okay, it's okay for me to avoid my life after this, but right now I'm going to sit with myself. I'm going to put my focus on my body, and I'm going to let, without judgment, any energies or emotions that want to come up and express themselves come up. That is such a powerful practice that will open up your power in big ways. Next up, from at the Danny Picard, think for yourself, challenge the status quo, read, analyze, scrutinize, question everything, reject the hype, seek the truth. And this is what true seekers do, right? They don't take anything that is given to them as truth until they've lived it out as experience. And so my challenge to you is, if you are being told something is real, seek out the truth of that for yourself experientially. Know that truth for yourself, because that allows you to be a better messenger for that truth. And one of two things happen when you start to go down the rabbit hole of everything that you think is truth. You're either going to become more wholly aligned with that truth, which again allows you to powerfully enact it in the world, or you're going to recognize that someone lied to you and that what you thought was truth wasn't truth. And in that process, though it can be disheartening, it will open you up to such bigger truths and more power. And so questioning everything is the seeker's stance. It's a curiosity saying, why do I believe what I believe? What was the origin of that? Who told me that? And is that really the truth? Next up, from at Austin, Texas Things, I just wanted to share this beautiful fall autumn image of my hometown, Austin, Texas. That's downtown Austin right there. And wow, those are some beautiful oranges, yellows, greens. Fall is beautiful. Next up, from at Conscious Collective, doctors don't make you healthy. Teachers don't make you learn. Trainers don't make you fit. Coaches don't make you rich. At some point, you have to understand that life is 100% your responsibility. And that goes back to, this idea of personal creative sovereignty. You are a sovereign spiritual being, and you have the opportunity to grow your personal universe in concert with everybody else's personal universe, and then live in this symphony of universes. But you're the decider of your life. No one else dictates how you're going to thrive or whether you can thrive. The politics don't matter. The news doesn't matter. None of that matters. When we are in our creative sovereignty, we will thrive regardless. And we, in chaotic times, will become the messengers of truth. Next up, from at You're Another Me, this monkey is chillin'. And it says, when you find peace by realizing that no matter what you say or do, there will always be people who will disagree or won't understand you, that's okay. Can you see a theme here today? I'm really stepping into a new field of potential when it comes to being me instead of being a people pleaser. And when you can find that piece of who you are authentically by feeling through all of the discomfort and feelings and finding that balance point, then the people who disagree with you, it's not going to feel so triggering. You're going to recognize that everybody's having their own experience, and that's okay. Next up from at Spiritual Heal, the deeper we heal, the deeper we see through the bullshit. And that's part of that truth seeking. A true seeker is going to seek out to heal thyself first. And in that healing, deeper and deeper levels of clarity about what the truth really is are going to shine through. And then you get to decide, do you want to be a messenger for that truth? Do you want to be the light bearer that goes into the dark room and maybe pisses people off because now they can see the cockroaches, but showcases, hey, now that we've got the light, we can clean this place up. Next up, at You Are Another Me. We've got, I think, maybe Metaphysical Jesus here with his third eye blasting. It says, don't let the shit show steal your glow. And that's variations of the same thing. You've got to do you. You can thrive regardless. Do not let the negative programming around you determine who you are. You're the creative, sovereign, genius being. And as you step further into that sovereignty and demand a bigger game for yourself, you will make a positive impact on the world. From at The Business Mindset, we've got Michio Kaku. He says, all kids are born geniuses, but are crushed by society. Then Einstein saying, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And unfortunately, parts of our school system and society are trying to treat everything like a one size fits all thing, and they're presenting one size fits all solutions. And so if you feel like other people are doing it better than you, then you haven't found your genius zone yet, because maybe everybody else is a monkey trying to climb a tree, and you're a fish showcasing people how to swim. You do you find the thing that you're great at. You focus on your own wins, and you do the healing work of letting life trigger your nervous system, push the Drano energy through your pipes, grow the pipes, become more creatively potent, and in that potency, you're gonna find the talents, the abilities that God bestowed on you to become a powerful character in the play of life. Next up from at Spiritual Goal, when you heal yourself, you heal your kids, you heal your parents, you heal your ancestors, you heal your home, you heal your tribe, you heal everyone who sees you healing. Read that again. Let's read it again. When you heal yourself, you heal your kids, you heal your parents, you heal your ancestors, you heal your home, you heal your tribe, you heal everyone who sees you healing. That's a powerful statement. And it's because we live in a frequency based reality. This is a consciousness simulation. And when you become potent in your own frequency of love and truth, that ripples out into the past, future, and present. And it affects the other frequencies around you, and it tunes them, just like when you strike a tuning fork and all the other tuning forks come into the same harmony and pitch it as that. That's what we all are, as tuning forks. And as we dial in the perfective octave of our own personal creative sovereignty, that ripples out and heals everyone around us without us ever having to speak a word. Next up from at You Are Another Me, when you say these cats are having an awakening experience. It says, when you thought you broke out of the matrix only to fall into spiritual dogma. And isn't that the truth? Like, people, myself included, you have this awakening experience, and then you learn a few spiritual truths, and then all of a sudden you start projecting all of the spiritual truths onto everyone else. And that's such an unloving thing to do. We have to let other people have their own experience and go at their own pace. And this idea that there's one spiritual dogma that rules them all, that everybody has to follow, and that everybody's path has to look the same. That's crazy talk. There are an infinite number of paths to awakening and to stepping into your power and to connecting into love. And the most valuable thing I think that we can do is become active listeners of the life and energies around us, and allow people to have their own experience with us without us having to project ours onto them, unless that advice is asked for. Again, from at you are another me. We've got somebody reading in bed. It says, when you're supposed to be out here delivering divinely channeled messages and healing the collective, but everybody's acting like rabid animals, so you say fuck it and let people figure it out on their own. I put this because I resonate. Like, there are days where I'm like, you know what? Everybody on my social media is being such a turd head that I don't even want to post anything because it seems so out of resonance. But that's me letting the society around me dictate how strong my light's going to be. And so you just have to learn to express and create and be the light because you love being the light. And then that helps you get out of this funk that comes across all of us who are in an awakening time of our lives, is that we wish everybody else was already awakened, but they're never going to be. There's always going to be people coming in who aren't on that path yet, and maybe never will be. And that's okay. We have to be the light because we like to be the light, not because we need to see anything change around us. Another one from at Spiritual Hill. It says, "Bitchcraft, the art of pissing people off by telling them the truth." And as I'm moving out of people pleaser mode, I'm recognizing that there is a little bump period. As you shift your frequency and vibration, some people aren't going to like that. They're going to be rubbed the wrong way, and maybe those people start to fall off, or maybe those people transmute and get used to it. But regardless, as you become more holistically you're going to grow in power because you're going to be connected into your source more wholly. And so it is okay to speak your truth. Just do it from a place of balance. If you're triggered, do not project that trigger forward with quote unquote truthful language. Because if you're projecting an unfelt negative energy onto someone as you're telling them the truth, it's not going to be received well. But if you are balanced, if you've felt through all of the discordant energy around something, and then you just, from a balanced perspective, share your truth, that is so appropriate. And if people can't handle you telling your truth from a balanced place of energy, or from a balanced energetic perspective, then that's on them, and they get to decide whether they want you in your life. But I promise you, as you become more holistically aligned with your true personal sovereignty, you're going to become surrounded by a community of like-minded people who are ready to support you because you're ready to support them. Next up, from at Rob Dial Jr., he says, the most toxic thing you can do is ignore the bad in someone because you love them. And again, that's a variation on this theme, right? That when we're people pleasing, when we have decided that we love someone, we don't want to rock the apple cart. We don't want to rock the boat. And so instead we don't say anything. And maybe the truth that we have to offer them, even though temporarily uncomfortable, might be the exact thing that they need to inspire their own awakening process. So again, it's not about telling everybody what to do and telling everybody that they're wrong. It's about you feeling through how you feel about them not doing the thing you think they should do. Because if you have annoyance or frustration or are angry that someone else isn't doing the thing that you need to do, well, then they're giving you a gift by showcasing that that's one of your edges. You've got to feel through that discordant energy and get to a place where it's perfectly okay for them to live their life however they want. And then from that balanced place, if there's something that you feel called to share with them, they're going to be more apt to hear it or not hear it, but it will be coming from a place of love rather than a place of projection. From at Third Eye Awaken, it's a beautiful thing when you get so comfortable with someone and you realize you're telling them things you've never said out loud before. And that's what happens, and that's what's happening to me as I align with my own truth more and more and get into more authentic expression, is that the people who weren't aligned with me, that I couldn't go deep with, just kind of fall away. And the people that I can really go deep with and share who I really am start to become my tribe. And it's a beautiful thing. From at Words of Success, this is from Lewis Howes. There are over 7.5 billion people in the world. Don't let the opinion of one person stop your positive vibes. You are better than that. And again, it's just, we can't be people pleasing. We've got to be authentically ourselves and claim our personal creative sovereignty. From at Third Eye Awaken, for once, stop and thank yourself for how far you've come. You've been trying to make changes in your life, and all your effort counts. This is not about, having some mystical, metaphysical experience where you go out of body and all of a sudden you're this enlightened being. The people who have that experience are often not in their personal sovereignty. They're melding with some other entity, or being overcloaked by an entity, or at least that's my personal bias on that right now. But you're it's okay if you're not immediately enlightened. You're doing the best that you can do, otherwise you'd be doing better. And so don't beat yourself up too much. Just recognize where you're at, feel your feelings about what you're doing. If you make a mistake, feel the feelings about the shame, guilt, embarrassment that you have about the mistake. The mistake is the trigger that becomes the Drano in the pipes, and then don't make that mistake um, anymore in the future, as long as you're consciously able to not do that. If you make the mistake 2 times, 3 times, 20 times, that's okay, but try to be more consciously aligned with what you're doing after every single mistake, and make sure that you're feeling the feelings of how you feel about yourself having made that mistake, so that you can clear out the energetic junk that is preventing you from moving with more momentum forward. Next up, from at Russell Brand, he says, if one dream should fall and break into 1,000 pieces, never be afraid to pick one of those pieces up and begin again. And that's from Saint Bernadette. And that's true. Your life can be totally shattered, and all you have to do is find one thing to focus on that can move you forward in a positive direction. One step. And we are all, I firmly believe that we are all 2 to 3 decisions away from a completely different life. And that can go in both ways. We're 2 or 3 decisions away from a really, really terrible life, but we're also 2 or 3 decisions away from our best self. Hashtag best self, hashtag best life. So the decision space that you have, the more that you awaken, the more that you're going to find that you have better decisions available to you in your awareness. And all you have to do is pick up the piece of one of those decisions, make a decision that moves you just a little bit forward, and that starts to create some momentum in your life. Next up, from at Synchronistic, some people don't understand that sitting in your own house alone in peace, eating snacks and minding your business is fucking priceless. And I put this in because I think a lot of times people think, oh, I have to be meditating all the time. I've thought that before, like, oh, I have to always be, sitting in a pyramid or in a crystal grid, and I have to always be working, and I have to always be pushing towards my goal. And if I'm not working 18-hour days, then I'm not going to have it. Effort will get you places. There are plenty of people who have efforted their way to success, but spiritual leverage is available, and it allows you to live in ease and flow. And it is totally okay if from time to time you're like, you know what, maybe I'm going to have that slice of pizza. Like, don't beat yourself up with it. Be in alignment with what you're doing. Don't eat, don't eat garbage every single meal of the day, but from time to time, like, if you need to chillax and do a Netflix and chill night with pizza and a soda, it's okay to do that. But just recognize that you're doing it, that you don't feel totally aligned with it, and that you're going to find alignment with it right now, but then you're going to allow that to catalyze you into making better decisions. And we don't have a full picture of what's going to help us in each moment. And so the path of least resistance is sometimes the Oreo cookie, and sometimes it's the energy work, and sometimes it's a combination of both. Only you can know what you need right now. And the key is to grab for the next easiest step forward that feels like it's going to move you into a place where you can grab more and more. So there's plenty of conscious practices that you can do to avoid bad habits, but at the same time, we don't have to um, be these Nazi like taskmasters in everything that we do. It's okay to give ourselves a little leeway from time to time. From my own account at John Ray, I wrote, it used to irritate me when I would get angry, feel sadness, or have big feelings about things. I felt I should be better than that, more enlightened than to still be triggered by the world around me. Now I'm thankful for those triggering moments because I know if I can feel it, I'm healing it. So I sit with my big feelings until they dissolve and transmute, grateful for the opportunity to release energy which no longer serves me. And that's what I've been talking about this whole video, is that reality is a mirror. It slaps you in your nervous system. If you will give yourself the time and space to sit with those triggered feelings until they no longer feel present, that's the up leveling that's available to you. So that's your daily dose of spiritual magic. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're looking for a like-minded community of conscious entrepreneurs who are all working together to create time, location, and financial freedom, then please head on over to mindbodysale.com and take a look at what we've created. We're putting the soul back in selling. I'd love to have you as a part of our community. Please go and follow all of the meme creators I've highlighted today. Their links are in the description. And if you have a spiritual meme account on Instagram that I should follow, please leave a link and your thoughts on today's meme musings in the comments. I'm John Ray. Godspeed to you all until tomorrow.